How's your summer going, Kathy?
So far, so good. It's hard to believe it's August already.
Yeah, it's like almost halfway through August. That's the scary thing. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
hey, Margaret. Hi, Tom.
Hey, Emrys, how are you?
I'm good. I was in London last week, so I'm great. Didn't think about work
Sorry, you broke up
or
for a second. Can you hear me okay?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, Andy.
Are we waiting for? I'm sorry, I don't recognize Sudiksha.
Hey, Cindy, it's Tom. Sudiksha is one of the fellows in our office, and she's just going to be joining for this meeting. She's working on youth engagement. Sudiksha, I don't
Oh,
know if you want to introduce yourself to
Oh,
everyone. I should have
great.
introduced you earlier. I'm so sorry about that.
No worries.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, thank you so much for letting me join. And thank you, Tom, for inviting me. So I'm a fellow at the governor's office and I'm doing some youth engagement stuff and just thought it'd be cool to listen in and see kind of what's going on and if there's anything that, I could maybe kind of help you guys with or kind of brainstorm or anything like that. So really happy to be
awesome.
here. Thank you.
Great.
We're so
Thanks for
excited
joining
to
us,
have you.
Sudiksha. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, we normally know everyone on the meeting, so there was an unfamiliar name, and I was like, this is strange.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry about that, Cindy. I should have given you a heads up. I apologize.
No worries.
No biggie.
Do we want to get started? I'm not sure.
I haven't heard from anybody.
Yeah.
It's August is tough. Lots of people are traveling. Summer's
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah. So I'm happy to just kick it off.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Well, great. Do we want it because we have Sudiksha with us? Should we do some quick introductions just around the room so that we can all know each other and she can know who we are? So I'm Amherst Williams. I'm the executive director of the Connecticut League of Museums, and I'm one of the commissioners, and I serve as the chair of the subcommittee on community and organizational engagement. And I'm sitting at home in Middletown trying to keep my office cool. Andy, you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Andy Horowitz. I'm a history professor at UConn, and I serve as the Connecticut State Historian. Kathy, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Kathy Labadie. I work at the Connecticut State Historic Preservation Office, and I am an archaeologist, and I will kick it over to Jonathan.
Thanks, Catherine. Hi, everyone. Jonathan Slifka. Um, I'm with the Department of Aging and Disability Services and one of the members of the subcommittee. Nice to see everyone. I will kick it over to Margaret.
Afternoon, everybody. My name is Margaret Kahn. I'm the director at the Booth and Dimick Library and here as a representative of the Connecticut Library Association. And Tom, I think.
Thanks so much, Margaret. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tom Scanlon. I'm the director of appointments in the governor's office. Sudiksha and I are colleagues of each other. And I will pass it off to Cindy.
Hi, so I'm Cindy Tolosa. I work here at Connecticut Humanities and I'm the project manager for the 250th Commission.
And I'm Rachel, also at CT Humanities, and I'm the administrative assistant that works on the commission stuff.
Thank you for that. It's so great to meet everyone.
Thanks for being with us. And we welcome your input or thoughts at any moment. So please feel free to speak up. It looks like, thanks again to Cindy and Rachel for pulling together a useful agenda for us. It sounds like we have some updates from the national level, and I'm going to kick it over to the folks who are following that at Connecticut Humanities to provide those updates to us.
Yeah. So a couple of weeks ago, there was a national convening hosted by the America 250 Commission, and they worked on it pretty closely with the White House Task Force 250. So Jason and I were there. Jason is the vice chair of the commission, Sadiksha, I'm sorry. And so I just kind of pulled a few things that were relevant for maybe this group from the gathering. There was a lot of information shared, not a ton of details. There was a lot of things that we kind of already knew about, or ideas that are starting to get fleshed out, but there wasn't a ton of details to share about them yet. So the few things that we did get a little bit more information on, the Great American State Fair on the National Mall. That's being spearheaded by the White House Task Force, and they are hoping to get a booth from all 50 states and then all the territories as well on the National Mall. Unclear exactly what that's going to entail just yet, but it does sound like they're going to want them to be staffed, and the time frame that they mentioned a couple of weeks ago was the week before and after July 4th, 2026. So a couple of weeks next summer. But that was all that they had for us there. They were going to be working on a calendar for the year immediately after the convening. So pretty soon, hopefully, we will have some more details. But that's kind of where that one landed. And then the other two that we've got listed on the agenda, America Praise is something that the White House Task Force is also encouraging. And just to give a brief synopsis of what they're looking for there is they were asking to have faith communities gather at least 10 people every week in 2026 to pray for America. And then Our American Story is something that's going to be a little bit more widespread, I think. They have, I think we talked about this at the last commission meeting, but they have a van where they can do recordings, and they are going to be traveling around, and they'll be everywhere, all 50 states, and hopefully the territories, although I don't know how they're going to get a van to Hawaii or what have you. But they're traveling around, and they are having people, just anybody, come in and record their story. They are partnering with Walmart for that. So it sounds like a lot of the traveling, and they're calling them block parties for these recording sessions, are going to be in Walmart parking lots. They are going to let us know when they're going to be in our state. They kicked it off actually July 28th or something on the National Mall. So they did something with the mayor and did like a big kind of launch event. So people are going to be invited to go and share their stories, and eventually there will be some sort of compiling of all these stories. Yeah.
Did they say anything? I remember when the commission began and we had someone from the federal level come and speak to us, we asked some questions about their plan for preserving items that were collected through the National Commission's work, such as these kind of like mini oral histories and stories. Did they say anything about what they were doing with them other than that they were going to be compiling them? Like, what is the long-term plan? Do they know?
They didn't say.
No. What I'll say is I do believe they're working with their story. Their story is doing all of the collection.
Okay. Interesting.
But they have not said from there where it's going. I think we could likely get more answers from Zach Ellis, who's the head of their story, and Fiona is close with them. So, actually
Zach was there.
Oh, was
I didn't, he was,
perfect.
yeah, I didn't speak with him, but he was like at my table for dinner. So
Yeah. So he would probably be able to share a little more information. And we could probably get answers a little more quickly out of him.
Yeah.
But I think there are a lot of concerns there.
Oh, it
because-
says the Library of Congress will preserve the full audio archive, so that's good.
Okay.
Great. They
Good.
did sort it, finally. I just remember at the beginning of all this, like, asking that question, and they were kind of like, we haven't thought about that. And I was like, well, that's a problem. So glad they sorted it out. They're going the StoryCorps route. It works.
Yeah, and what I'll say is that the first round of stories that they collected, I don't think they got the permissions necessary. And I think those have kind of been hidden away somewhere.
Nice work.
Yeah, so the good news is now whatever's collected from here on out is a little more accessible, hopefully. I think we all clearly have some misgivings about all of this, with the way it's kind of been laid out. And I think what I was hoping we could talk a little bit about this is if there are any ways that we can tie this into the work that we're doing and kind of adjust it in a way that makes it feel more true to what our commission is doing. And I think an example of this is Hawaii's initiative to have the Declaration of Independence be read on July 8th, and us putting together a page that makes that initiative a little more broader than just the declaration. So are there ways that we can encourage Connecticut organizations to participate in these things with a slight twist to better align with what we've been encouraging people to do, if we feel like that's worth it. I know we've talked a lot, and I think especially on this subcommittee, about trying to get faith groups involved. So it makes me wonder, or churches broadly involved. So it makes me wonder if there's a way to think about this America Prays initiative and use it as a way to get engaged with faith groups around the state in some way, shape, or form. The Great American State Fair is a little scarier to me, only because it requires 2 weeks of staffing in DC, and I just have no idea how that can be pulled off.
Yeah, that's interesting. I have a lot of questions about that, but yeah, you probably don't have the answers. So I will refrain from asking them right now.
Supposedly soon we will have a big master calendar of all of the events planned.
Are they putting people up? Like, I mean, how are people going to make it to DC for?
I don't know. But yeah, once we have that master calendar, we can at least look at it and say,
Yeah.
like, this is what's actually happening and this is what's not.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I'll refrain. But I think any ways that you all think we can engage with any of these, because I'm having a hard time just sharing these out with people, because I'm getting a lot of feedback that organizations here in Connecticut are not generally supportive of the National Commission. That said, I do feel like we have to share and make people aware of what's happening at the national level. But I think it is helpful when we have ideas for how this can be more applicable here in the state.
Well, I mean, the obvious connection is their story connection. Are there ways that, there can be synergies between what's already happening around the state through Fiona's work with the EPIC project and, what they're doing? Like, there's certainly like, they're doing more community-focused oral histories rather than driving an Airstream to Walmart parking lots. But I think that that's the obvious thing where there's already institutionally and personally like a connection between what the National Commission is doing and work that's happening here in the state. But I would love to hear from anyone here today about, having listened to what Rachel and Cindy have shared with us, ideas that you have. Hi, Liz. On how to kind of finesse some of these or, turn them to our own purposes here within Connecticut in ways that can speak to what we're trying to do with the state commission.
And maybe the question is, so I have heard that the Our American Story question is really broad. I do think that Fiona would be willing to host something similar in terms of a page with a question that people can respond to via Their Story platform, which I think is very similar to what the National Commission is using. So I think we could create that. But maybe the question is, what are the questions that we would want Connecticut residents to consider answering? What are some meaningful, I'm thinking if there's a way to tie in the 4 themes or
Andy's putting.
yeah.
I'm nearly certain, I don't know, I mean, I'm not certain, but I bet if we went back and looked at the bicentennial, probably there was some similar project and it would be interesting to ask similar questions. I can poke around for that. But I don't think this is so mysterious. I don't think this is such a mysterious idea. And I bet the questions that the national organization poses might be really interesting. And if we can adopt them wholesale, I think we should. And if not, I would ask Fiona if she has ideas as the person in the state who kind of does this. But I put those two in the chat. What does an American mean to you? And what does it mean to be an American? Just as examples of, I think these would be super productive and interesting. And if Their Story made these available, if there's the staff to do it, some excerpts on social media and stuff that people are willing to share could make for a really, I think, just compelling kind of feature. And I think we could embrace this one really happily.
Sorry, I'm late in coming into
No.
the conversation.
That's fine.
My question was, so how, and now my cat wants a part of the action. How has it been proposed that these stories, if we get people to share, be told, like be shared? Has that been discussed?
Yeah. No, so are you talking Connecticut or are you talking national? And then what was that?
If the national has something to do with the Connecticut, then maybe
Okay.
that's pertinent. I'm just trying to think of I think the idea is good. But if we're not thinking about how they're shared, why would we want to ask them? Like,
Yeah. I believe, and would have to have a follow-up conversation with Fiona at this point. I believe Their Story was working on a publicly accessible version of their platform. So we could, in theory, I believe, have a website run by Their Story where people who share their story can opt into being featured on the website. And then we can make that website publicly accessible and people could go in and see how other people are answering the question. I think there's also the possibility for, like Andy said, some social media engagement. And then I think the question would be, where do these live on afterwards? Something tells me Deborah might be willing to be responsible for the longevity of this, especially given that I know she has expressed interest in sharing some outcomes from the 250th, much in the same way that they have the bicentennial files records. So I think all of the above for how to use these. I don't know what the National is doing with these beyond collecting them and sending them over to the Library of Congress, which is why I think, I do not believe we'll have access to those, which is why I think we're leaning towards, if we really start pushing a Connecticut version that we can access and share and make accessible in a way that we understand. Okay. So similar.
Yeah, okay, so that's helpful to me, but I just like I don't think people are gonna, I mean, so 100% like Deborah, how we share and what we do with this, but I think that so I think the exercise for doing the exercise is fine. I think sharing on a website, I just don't know really how we drive traffic to a Connecticut 250 website for like the average person. So I'm just thinking like, are there other ways? And I know, I mean, I don't know if you guys have already talked to, I know there's certain like news stations in Connecticut that are already doing, I mean, promoting 250th kinds of activities. Um, and I just feel like if we really want to be sharing this, that like Connecticut influencers or are one way, and then media, news media is another way. And if we're just going to share them on a website that's specifically for Connecticut 250th, that the audience is not, I mean, it's more of an academic exercise rather than an actual thing that might affect people.
No, I like the idea. I know WFSB has been very interested in what we're working on. WTNH has reached out a couple of times, and I'm fairly certain, well, Connecticut Public might be interested. I think in an ideal world they would be, but I think they've been um, more focused on underwriting.
I mean,
But
yeah. So I think, I mean, so FSB is doing a series right now. So I think that they would be really interested in having this kind of a thing pitched at them. We can get you a pitch interview at not we, but my office, could get you a pitch interview at Fox 61 Connecticut 20, because we work with them. I just think that honestly, that they're going to be looking for this kind of thing to do. They're already looking, I mean, what they're doing is on their own initiative. So and they usually have web presences to back some of this up. So I kind of hate, I mean, we didn't have the internet, right, in the bicentennial. And media looks really, really different, but I just think that there's some really amazing Connecticut influencers. A couple visited Newgate the other day, and we had literally the next day 250 extra people than normal came the next day. The next day after they posted their post on Newgate. So, I mean, if we really want this story to be a big story, that's what we need to do. I just don't think that there's an alternative. If we want to do it as an academic exercise, then that's also a thing. Totally fine. But that looks like posting on a website and archiving.
great. So I think that's all good feedback, and I think our next step is to start a conversation with Fiona. So we'll go that route, see what's available for us, and then kind of figure out what next steps are from that once we know what we're able to do.
I'll forgive me for interrupting. I'm just thinking about what Liz said. Of course, she's right. And it does. I think we might want to think whoever, someone may want to think really what the goal is here. If we want to produce a radio program, we should have radio producers involved from the jump and make sure that the production values are such and the permissions are such and all of that works. And if we just want to kind of open up preserve your own, like if it's more of a doing history project, and this is the state rollout of their story, and the takeaway is not, frankly, that anyone would listen to it maybe other than your grandparents, than your grandchildren, but we're going to help you have the opportunity to record document some of your family history and download, and like have a little piece about preservation. I think that's a perfectly valuable project too. Those are two unrelated, so different as to be unrelated projects. And I just think somebody should decide which one they want to do, because the social media one should have some thought and care put into uh, who is being represented, and making sure that the answers are 45 seconds, 90 seconds, however much time they're going to give you, or 45, whatever the radio time is. Or the other side should be really about promoting their story, working with, local historical societies to roll out life history interview, prompts and that kind of stuff. Both of those I think we could really be excited about, but I just think they're so different that we should give some thought as to which one. And it could be that you want to, maybe we do both, or maybe we do everyone can record, and maybe the public version promotes the private version, but there may be some kind of coherent thing, and Fiona may be the person to take it over. But if it's the radio piece, then we probably want a radio producer to be in charge.
And then also when Walmart or the White House task force or whoever comes knocking and says, hey, we're going to be there on such and such a date, what do we do with that? How does that tie in, or does it? They're going to come.
Yeah.
They'll be here. We may or may not know, but they'll be here.
Rachel, is the aforementioned calendar going to potentially include those dates on it? Do you have any idea? It's probably still too soon to say, right? I mean,
yeah, they did say that they were starting in mid-August, and they mentioned a state that they would be in. And then later that day, we spoke with somebody from that state, and they said that's the first I've heard of it. So I don't know.
okay, no worries.
Melvat, you've got your hand up.
Hi, I'm sorry I'm late to the conversation and I'm trying to catch up. But it seems as if, and right, I'm going to try to walk myself through what I think I might know. I'm hoping I'm wrong. It seems as if that we're being, tasked or asked to collect stories, right, about, and I think those are the two prompts. What does American mean to you, or what does it mean to be an American? And we would put out that question and invite people to answer that question, either through some type of audio, video kind of response, and we might then share that locally or in state via social media or however we're going to use it. And also the White House might be interested in it for the larger America 250. I see you shaking your head, Rachel, or someone.
So I think it was me. We both might have been shaking our heads.
I stayed still, but
okay. So help me understand what we're actually talking about. Yeah.
So do you want to go? Yeah. Okay. The White House. Sorry, they're becoming so integrated that I don't know if it's the White House Task Force or America 250. But the federal people have an Airstream trailer. It's called Our American Story. They're taking it around the country. It is, I believe, sponsored by Walmart and Stellantis. They have a Dodge truck is pulling it. But they're definitely partnering with Walmart and are coming around the country to record stories. The prompt, I didn't do it. They did invite us to do it, but I didn't. The prompt that I believe that they were given was just, what's your story? And it was very, very broad and vague. And they gave you like 5 minutes to kind of talk and record it. And that was it. They did have a couple of packages of like more curated people that actually told like a more serious, invited them into like a veteran's home, and he kind of talked about his story and things like that. So they do have some more curated recordings, and I think are going to continue to do those, but the bulk of it is going to be just traveling around the country, talking to whoever hops in their van. Is that helpful?
And so to extend that, I think what we're talking about is doing a separate kind of Connecticut version of this. The National will be bringing their van to Connecticut at some point in time. But rather than just pushing people to the national initiative, I think if we're going to encourage some kind of storytelling, that we probably want it to be something we can get our hands on sooner rather than waiting until the files have been transferred over to the Library of Congress some point down the line. So I think that's what we're wondering, what the right way for Connecticut to do this is. And if the answer is we don't do it at all, I think that's also fine. But part of the reason I'm asking to adjust some of these things is because the feedback we're getting from organizations is, I don't want to participate in these national initiatives. I feel like we still need to make them aware of it. And I think wherever we can propose alternatives or ways for them to participate in a way that feels more genuine, more in line with the commission's values, whatever the case may be. I think those alternatives are going to be welcome from people around the state.
Okay, thank you for that, those two separate things. I would love to learn maybe more offline what some of those concerns are for folks in the participating in the national initiatives. I have my ideas, but I don't want to make assumptions. And I also, I think even, so I'll name my concern for the Library of Congress stuff. So like if we do something and then those, you know, if people in Connecticut participate in this van that comes through, and I guess those are the things that are going to be kind of sent off to the Library of Congress, supposedly. And I say supposedly because there's, you know, all of these issues now around archiving and what's there and shutting down information and removing things from institutions. So I think my concern then, if folks from Connecticut, whoever they might be, engage in this. So I'm trying to prevent harm, right? And they engage in it as like, oh, we're not, your story is not important enough, or we don't want your kind of story, or we don't think you're our kind of American, right? Then what harm are we inviting for people, right? Like, is there some way to protect our folks, right? Which leads me to kind of like your thing was like, do we not participate? And so I was just wondering around this van that's coming through, and maybe you said this, so I'm sorry if I missed it. Do we know where it's coming and if we actually have to, is it going to be at a Walmart somewhere in a parking lot? Okay, so it's not like at our state capitol. It's not anywhere kind of like one of our, okay, great. I see that.
Unless we make plans for that. The kickoff they did at the National Mall with Muriel Bowser.
Unless we make
so that was definitely planned and it was not in a Walmart parking lot, but
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that is an important question because, like, there's no point in reinventing the wheel if we can, in good faith, assume that, you know, as they say, it's all going to the Library of Congress for preservation. Like, I'm pretty comfortable with that, but, you know, maybe other people aren't. You know, I'm thinking about the labor, right? If and you know, I guess my initial question was like, how could we do these things together since we're already kind of doing this community oral history in Connecticut using the exact same platform that this initiative is using? So like, I was thinking more, can we do them together? Not, can we do a whole thing that's separate to Connecticut? But maybe that's a road that we want to go down. And do we have any say over where this goes? Like, could the commission be like, these are the places that there's, in addition to whatever Walmart parking lots they have on their contractual obligation with the Walmart sponsorship, like, you know, can we also request that it go here, here, and here? Like, what are there ways that we can shape what's being collected with the assumption that everything that is collected will actually be collected, which it didn't even occur to me to think that that might not be true, but, you know, you never know these days. So fair point.
Yeah.
Liz, it looks like you were going to say something. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to talk over you.
No, you weren't talking over to me. I was just pondering Melvet's statement about
Yeah.
doing our own storytelling, whether
Yeah.
we can provide safety and protocols. And I would like to agree with that. I'm not sure that we can provide safety. I mean, I'm not, you know what I mean. Yeah. And you know what I mean. Not, it could be in a multiple ways, like, because we can't potentially limit, I don't know that we can limit access, right? It's like, people not showing up to, report for various things now because they're worried that ICE is going to find them there. And I'm just like, I just don't know. And so I guess my other question, but my practical question would be, who would be doing this? And with what money? Because I like this sounds kind of like a big chunk of work.
I don't
don't
have an
know.
answer to that, but to go along with Liz's question and to when I mean safety, I mean we are providing an environment where we've already established we're here to do your interview, right? It's not necessarily going to be out in the public square, but whoever it is, right? Uh, we're making promises to them like, here's how your information is going to be used. We're going to use it on audio. It's going to be on WFSB. Like there's an agreement with people on how their recording and their story is going to be used. Like that's what I mean safety. I know we can't provide physical safety to people, but we can have spaces and places where like this is where we're recording and this is right, and people will show up whoever they are in whatever way that they would show up. If it's done by someone else, we have no authority, nothing over how their procedures will go and how that information will be used. So that's what I meant by safety.
Yeah, and to answer your other question, I don't know who would manage this and where the money would come from. I think this is more of a investigative conversation, and then we can kind of take next steps and figure out what it would look like. I also don't know if we would necessarily do a lot of big collection days, or if that would be, for example, if we're working with Fiona, if that would be something we ask her or grad students to take on, because I know she has grad students. So lots of don't knows, lots of options to look at, but just more of a question of, is this something we would want to encourage, and what? Yeah, I'll leave it there.
I feel like we have questions about it that would be nice to have answered, right? The national, what are they asking people? Where will they be going? What role can states play in shaping that? What's the timeline for states having access to the materials that were recorded in their states? Because I think those may inform how we wish to engage with this and the extent that we wish to engage with it.
We can send those over, and if we
Yeah.
hear back, we'll let you all know.
I want to add maybe totally unrelated to the sort of political assumptions swirling around, I think. I'm sort of surprised, maybe we did and I've forgotten it. Forgive me if someone here did, but I'm sort of surprised that we didn't come to a kind of oral history component to this 2 years ago. And when we Connecticut Humanities has invested in getting this statewide license for their story. And it seems to me that in our no cost scenario here, making a kind of guide to help under the rubric of doing history, making a guide to encourage people to record their stories as part of the 250th, just on a local level without a preservation agenda other than you get to bring it home with you. But maybe running it through historical societies and community organizations strikes me something for which we already have spent the money and already have the infrastructure, and we're like a one-page PDF away and a web page from like being able to push it. And that may be something, Cindy, I can't tell if you're nodding. Is like, no, no, we already did that 6 months ago. You're just out of the loop. So forgive
No,
me if I am, but I just wanted to mention that.
we've definitely discussed it. I think, mm, the feedback has generally been, so we've gone around in a few circles, I'll say that. The feedback has been to do a more concentrated program does not fit into the scope of the work that, like a very big collection program with lots of historical societies around the state is not within the scope of what Fiona's able to manage. We could not manage that at CTH. We've gone back to if it were one or, and Fiona's point was if it were one or two easy questions, that might be something manageable. And we would have, we CTH, the commission would have kind of control over that part of the website. And that could be done. But then there was a question of if we wanted to, and now we're back
I
kind
have
of.
kind of a, I have maybe a different vision, maybe naive, but I think what I sort of imagined just now with 30 to 45 seconds of thought was, and unburdened by any, any other thinking about it. Couldn't Fiona or someone do a one-off web training for representatives from historical societies through the league for organizations that wanted to make this available? And then she's done with it. Connecticut Humanities already paid for the license. Then it's like, oh, if you want to do this, go to the New Haven Museum or go to your local historical society, and there's someone who's been trained there. And again, not with the ambition of either A, Fiona consulting to 12,000 people, obviously not, or even to 12, even to 169 historical societies, obviously not, except for the one-off training, but rather to train the, like train the people that would be offering the service in a one-time deal. And then this might push people to go to the historical society. I know I've talked to a number of historical societies that are always eager. I mean, obviously we all do, always eager to have reasons for people to come. And maybe, we can encourage them to, buy one microphone for with the recommended microphone for $100 so you can have a better recording or something. And then what you bring home is, bring your own flash drive and bring it home with you. I just think there's some version of this that is not so labor intensive, but might get people into their local organizations. That is a sustainable service they can offer after the 250th. That might be appealing to people. You can reserve a quiet room at the library, at the historical society, this recording, or you can do it at home. You can do it at home too. Here's our one-page guide to questions. It just strikes me as like a free, 10 hours of work project, lasts forever kind of situation that we might want to consider if we are down to planting trees and really have nothing else to offer people. That might be a good thing to promote.
I would follow up on that by saying that partnering with libraries too would be a good way if we could get this as a recognized statewide program where participating libraries could do it over the course of, you could have it focused in on one day, like today is, tell your story day. You could do it that week, that month, whatever. Again, if there could be some training and some instruction provided to libraries willing to participate, I think with enough lead time, you would get a good participation rate.
I have an email that Fiona sent me at the end of July. Doug Boyd from University of Kentucky, the OHMS guy, like big in the oral history, digital oral history community, someone from Idaho's statewide oral history program, and also Zach Ellis from their story, did a webinar on oral history tools and best practices for America's 250th. The recording's available online. There are sample forms that you can access by filling out a survey about the video or the program. So I think this has already, like, the training has kind of been done, basically. And I think so that's why I think this idea is potentially so doable if we want to adopt Andy's model and then bring in the library community. Like, I don't see why Fiona would have any objection to be sharing this email with you, Margaret, and you can send it out to the library community. And that just makes it more accessible. And then if there's just something the commission can do to kind of, and the league can do this support in the museum community, like put a kind of ribbon around it and say, this is a project that the 250th Commission is supporting. go watch this video. We'd love to encourage people to collect these stories in their communities, you know, through their libraries and historical societies or something like that. I think that's pretty low hanging fruit where half of the work has been done. It would just be the promotion on the local level.
Can you forward that if you have a chance?
Yeah. I'll send it to the committee. What is it? Engagement?
Yep, at ct250.org. Make it easy. So I think that's really helpful. I think the only other question I have separately is if we feel like there's anything to be, if there's a there with America Prays and some of the conversations we've had around engaging faith-based groups in the 250th. I mean, it is easy enough to share it. But is there something that we, yeah.
I just had this, I was just trying to look up more information on this America Praise thing, and I did find a website. Is it this? Because I have some thoughts.
It very well might be.
Okay.
Who?
I think you have to look at it pretty carefully, but it's pretty explicitly focused on Jesus. So that's not super inclusive in terms of different kinds of faith communities. This looks like an evangelical movement. So I mean, every church I've ever been to prays for the nation, like, or national leaders as a part of the liturgy or the service. So there's something here that is clearly speaking to a specific community. I think we should think about this one a lot more carefully.
I don't think this is it, actually.
No? Okay.
No.
Yeah.
Because there's no one from the White House involved here, and this is definitely
Okay.
more of a.
All right.
They stole the name from somebody, apparently.
Yeah,
Okay.
It doesn't say anything about the 250th either.
Yeah.
Well, there wasn't anything on
But
the
it's good
250th
to know about it
website,
because if somebody
so
types this in and Googles it, that's what comes up. So
yeah, exactly. So because it did sound kind of similar to what you described. So I just think, that's something we need a lot more information about.
Yeah.
Because if it's this, like, there are some issues, I would say.
Yeah. I'm wondering if we just have to wait until they release more info because there's nothing anywhere public.
Yeah.
And so I'd rather not start sharing it.
Yeah. And I know this isn't related to explicitly the Great American State Fair, but is the commission doing something at the Big E?
I am not sure.
Okay.
I think we need to figure out. There are lots of questions to answer there. I think the National Commission will have a presence at the Big E.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
So they are trying to get the National Commission at every single state fair. And so they're using the Big E to do all of the New England states and
because it is more like a state fair, like and
they're counting that as the participation of all 6 New England states in their initiative. I don't know, and Tom, you might be able to answer this, if the head of the agriculture department knows this, is participating in some way. I know emails went out to agriculture departments across the country. And I don't know their involvement with Biggie.
Yeah, what I can do, Cindy, is I can check with Commissioner Hurlbert and um, his Director of Government Affairs person.
Great. You may have cut out Tom, or maybe not.
Um, just pertaining to more information about state fairs, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so I know Rhode Island was upset that they were being counted as participating when they had never actually signed up for it.
I know
Um,
that we did a proclamation, I think, that was at the request of the National Labor Secretary, but I don't know if anything came of it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So all that to say, I don't know, Amherst, what
Okay. Yeah.
what our participation is and what the presence of the 250th will be at the Biggie this year.
Yeah.
I think there will be something there. I just don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, personally, I'm not super interested at the Great American State Fair on the National Mall, but I am interested in the ways that we could utilize fairs as ways of outreach, because it's fair season. Melvet, you've got your hand up.
Yes. So I don't think I formally introduced myself to folks, but hey, I'm Elva Hill. I'm at the Commission on Women, Children, Seniors, Equity and Opportunity, and we're legislative staff. And I did have a question from the Office of Legislative Management as we are in preparation for our own state's 250 celebration, probably next year or throughout this year. So they were asking, did we have any intentions of using the Capitol grounds, the legislative office building? At any point, are there things happening that we're aware of? I see you nodding, perhaps. I know in my head as staff, like we use that building a lot for things. And of course, I thought maybe perhaps, but just trying to get a sense of what people had envisioned, if there was use of the Capitol or the grounds for anything.
Yeah, I think the only major hope was to have a recommitment ceremony, recommitting to the ideals of the Declaration or the ideals of the founding of the country at the Capitol. There was talk of potentially doing the old State House as a backup location. So, and that the hope was for July 4th, following the ceremony for the Hall of Flags, kind of. So the VFW and American Legion do the Hall of Flags ceremony the morning of July 4th. So after that has concluded, having this recommitment and having a representative from each of the municipalities here in Connecticut. But outside of that, I don't think there have been any firm plans for anything at the Capitol or the grounds. That's not to say it wouldn't come up. And I'm sure that there might be some opportunities to share information with legislators and potentially something else along those lines.
All right. So the reason why, and I'm not sure if you know, but they are planning to do some beautification, some stuff, and it will be scaffolded, the Capitol, like fully everything. And however, like if we're saying, I mean, I also imagine that people are going to be taking pictures perhaps of our beautiful state capitol. And so just trying to provide some insight to them because they are able to push off the project a little bit. And if we need that, then we can ask for it. So I just wanted to check in, like, if you're all like, oh, no one's going to do anything, that which I didn't think would be a thing. I figured people are going to be wanting to do something and also take pictures outside.
I'll say that there will be fireworks in Bushnell Park on the 4th of July.
There are fireworks. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I think it's a very nice picture when the Capitol isn't under scaffolding.
Yes. I will let them know.
Yeah. but I'd say after the 4th of July, we're out of their hair.
Well, even like be safe in like August. August will do August. Okay.
Yes.
Are we good to move on to item 2, about where we stand with local committees? Does anyone have anything further on kind of ways to, I mean, I think we can continue to think about this but in terms of the ways that we want the state to kind of interface with these national initiatives. But I think we have some questions and then, some ideas. Are there particular things that you want oh, Andy's got a question.
I
Things
just
that we
wanna-
want to do.
My quick question would be for Cindy and Rachel. We have a real problem with obviously supporting someone to stay in DC from the state for 2 weeks to staff a booth. We also don't want to be the only state not there. So I think maybe if you could find out, is it going to be 1 out of 50 that's not there? And if so, what might we do?
I'll say generally across the board, there are a lot of concerns because this has been so the event in DC is the week before and after the 4th of July next year.
Maybe.
So yeah,
The timing keeps changing.
yeah. But a lot of states are concerned because of the late notice and because they have things planned in their own states that during that time frame, and most commissions are pretty lightly staffed, 1 or 2 staff members. So there are a lot of concerns about whether people can make this work or not. And so I don't know.
My very quick idea is I wonder if people associated with our congressional delegates, if their staff, if they each could take responsibility for a couple of days, so an intern could do it. If we could help make the booth, maybe they can provide some of the staffing.
Is the booth going to be made entirely of pizza? I mean, when I picture this, I basically picture like a late 19th century like exposition, right, where every state has like its building, and Iowa's is made of corn cobs, and like ours is made of, I don't know, submarines. I don't like. It's just like, what are we doing?
Yeah, we really
Very appropriate for tourism to subsidize. In that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, like we said, we're really waiting on some clarity on how much we can create a booth. Is there a budget that we will be provided with? And millions of other big questions so that we can figure out what the answers are and what is feasible. So as soon as we get some clarity, I think other states will also make their mind up once they get some clarity, and then we can share where we are with all of the above.
And I think on the kind of like oral history recordings piece, I know that and it sounds like Margaret, would be happy to talk further with how we might be able to kind of like turn what Fiona and Zach and company have kind of already done into something that we're sort of pushing out through the commit under the auspices of the commission to encourage people to do this stuff on the local level.
I think Andy volunteered himself too, so I don't want to let him
Okay,
off.
yeah, Andy, yeah. We'll bring you in.
On file for the recording. Great.
Okay. On to local committee outreach. Where do we stand?
We are at 121 or 122. I just got another one today. So we are trucking along. The contact list that's linked there, I really just took the one from our last meeting 3 months ago and deleted the lines that we've gotten since then. So I think that some of you all signed yourselves up for certain towns, and some I just kind of divided it up based on what was left. So that's what the subcommittee member assignments are in there. It's just left over from May. But yeah, we're in good shape, and they keep.
So did you assign us all? I think before Andy leaves, should we go and do some outreach again? Is that the homework?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how it works. Yep.
And I think there is a little bit of confusion. Occasionally people will say, oh, but I thought I already signed up.
Mhm.
And I think sometimes they think they have, but we have not actually gotten a firm name, or we get, well, I'm thinking about assigning XYZ, but then they never say, yes, that's a person. So we apologize if there is any confusion. But we just always want to be sure to be clear.
When would you like that completed by? Do you want people to send those emails this week if possible?
This week if possible, but also understanding that it is
People may be
summer.
gone, yeah.
Yeah, I think I would say maybe by September 12th, which gives us a little bit of leeway after Labor Day. Because yeah, summer.
Great. Thanks. Any questions from anyone about that? So look at the list, find your name, send an email using the template to the town contacts provided to you. And be sure to CC the info.
Just template as
Yeah.
you see fit, especially who've already emailed them once or twice.
Great. All right. Looks like we've got a code of conduct to look at.
Yes. And so that is the last thing on today's agenda. I'll put that link in the chat. Rachel has to head home to her kiddo.
Hi, Rachel.
See you next time.
But for any future meetings and events, we have talked about adopting a code of conduct, and we wanted to make sure that everyone on this committee had a chance to see it before we present it to the full commission and have them vote on it.
Cindy, would you be so kind as to just share your screen so we can all look at it together? I'm not always logged into my 250th account, and
Yeah.
it'll
Let me
just
see.
be probably faster for you to show it to us so we can walk through it together.
Just want to make sure to get it on the right tab. I am a terrible 100 tabs open kind of person. Okay. All right. So, can everybody see?
Mhm.
So this is largely adopted from a few different codes that folks sent our way. So the America 250 CT Commission is committed to providing a safe, productive, and welcoming environment at all meetings and events that are hosted solely by the commission or held in collaboration with other organizations, including both virtual and in person. The commission encourages healthy and respectful discussion of topics related to its 4 themes: tell inclusive stories for the common good, power of place, and doing history. Participants are encouraged to share their thoughts and engage in civil discourse with the understanding that there may be a wide variety of opinions on such topics. All participants are expected to exhibit respectful behavior and use respectful language with one another at all times. Further, any form of discrimination or harassment at commission events will not be tolerated. Unacceptable behavior includes, but is not limited to, verbal comments related to gender, sexual orientation, disability, physical appearance, body size, race, religion, national origin, inappropriate use of nudity and/or sexual images in public spaces or in presentations, or threatening cyberbullying or stalking any attendee, speaker, volunteer, exhibitor, staff member, service provider, or other meeting guests. Any person deemed to have participated in unacceptable behavior at a commission event may be asked to cease the behavior immediately by staff, event organizers, or a designated representative of the commission. Individuals who do not comply or who engage in behavior that endangers the physical or emotional well-being of any event attendee may be asked to leave and/or banned from future commission events. In the case of such action, a refund of any fees paid to attend will not be granted. If you have experienced behavior that has made you feel uncomfortable, unwelcome, or endangered, please contact staff or a commission representative. For behavior that must be addressed immediately, please speak with staff in person via a private message in a virtual meeting or call X, and we would fill this out based on what staff member is present. For behavior that should be reported but does not pose an immediate danger, you may contact info@ct250.org. All reports will be handled in comments. Is there anything that we feel is missing, extraneous, questionable? And I think we would likely, I think in general, this would be shared with any participants when they register, and then in any follow-up communications. I think that last paragraph with who to contact would be posted somewhere during the meeting so that people have access to it. Either put in the chat of any meetings or for an in-person meeting, kind of put on a sign somewhere so that people know who to reach out to. But does this address kind of what we were hoping? Is it too long?
Melvette?
I think especially this paragraph that I'm seeing that says further any form of discrimination and harassment. I think in there we have to include vocalizations, right? So sometimes it might not be a verbal comment, but it might be a sound. I know that sounds very particular, but sometimes that is a thing. So I'm not sure. Yeah. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but
Yeah.
that looks good.
If you're expanding on that language, maybe include actions too.
Yeah, gestures, something like that. Yeah.
Weird question. Are you going to have this reviewed by a lawyer? I know
I was
that.
I was going to ask the same thing, Liz. I was thinking about that.
I think we will have to.
Okay. I would say you should.
Yeah, Cindy, I strongly agree with Liz. I think everything in here looks really good, but I strongly agree that we should probably have someone with a legal background just to give it maybe a run through. I could possibly check with our legal office. I know that since the commission was enabled through a governor's executive order, we could ask and see if they would be willing to just give it a look. I don't know if anyone has any more content feedback, but I think everything here looks pretty good.
I think I'll include these edits and then I can send it your way, Tom. I think that would be helpful. We do have a lawyer on retainer, but if we don't have to pay, that would be ideal.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. If I can ask someone in our office to look at it once the revisions are all set. Thanks, Cindy.
No, thank you.
I think it looks good.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I think it looks really, really good. I think you did a good job.
Great. Thank you. And hopefully it covers both.
Hopefully we don't even have to worry about it anymore, right?
Yeah, that would be
That would be
nice.
the ideal. Nothing ever comes up ever again.
Well, I agree, but I think this is slightly more broad than the one specific issue that kind of precipitated it, but I think there is room for kind of I'll say partisan disrespect moving forward. And I think having this to point at as we can talk across differences and be productive together will be really helpful. Because I think more of that is coming out than what we've had in the past. So.
I'm sorry, I just have a quick question. I couldn't get access to the form, but that's okay. I'm not logged in on that part. Did we use the word civility in there at all?
We said participants are encouraged to share their thoughts and engage in civil discourse.
Sounds good.
With the understanding that there may be a wide variety of opinions. And I think that really gets down to that. We can disagree, but disagree respectfully. And if that's what we get out of the 250th, that would be great. So I think that is everything that we were hoping to cover during this meeting. Does anybody have any other thoughts, comments? Amris, I'm sorry I interrupted.
No. No, I mean, I think it's been a productive meeting. I think we had some good conversations, some ideas, some questions, a little bit of homework. And I think we have a good path forward for the code of conduct, so. I'm good. If you guys are good, does anybody have anything else? Other business? I don't have anything.
I don't think I have anything either. I owe you some follow-up on a couple of things, Cindy. I'm going to follow up with you offline on that.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Great.
Great to see everyone.
Yeah,
Thank you.
likewise. Enjoy the rest of your summers, Sudiksha. It was great to
too.
have you with us.
It was great to meet you guys. Thank you for letting me join.
Absolutely.